we are going to discuss about the UNSW Technology Investment Governance Process. And this paper highlights the AI strategy outline. And the first page highlights the table of content, and the second one, feedback integrated into integration summary, so highlighting the feedbacks which I received from the professor and also from the peers, and that's been incorporated, and it highlights what all the changes are. And in the executive summary, I'm just going to highlight what the current challenges are. So UNSW spends nearly $400 million every year on the technology investment. So any investment more than $5,000 has to come to architecture review board. And architecture review board consists of nearly 12 different disciplines like leadership teams like cyber, legal, data governance, strategy and architecture, and so on and so forth. So they manually sit all together and look at the UNSW vision, missions, and UNSW objectives, and also the principles, patterns, and everything. And based on them, they endorse or reject, or maybe they give an exception. So and this is a manual process. This is how we can automate and how we can integrate the AI into this program. That's the intent of this paper. And the problem statement is, as I've highlighted, there's a significant amount of manual work and costly, and it's unsustainable. And year on year, it's keep increasing. So how we are going to manage it in a long term? And the assets which is highlighted on the down, we as a university, we have been encouraged to use AI for productivity tool, and we just bought nearly 10,000 licenses from OpenAI, and we also have an enterprise Copilot licenses. And the expertise we definitely wants to change in terms of cultural change. So we also wants to leverage the digitalization skills and AI literacy. On the right hand side, where you can see the manual process, so the people group all together on a fortnightly basis and try to manually endorse the paper. And the run sheet has been highlighted as an image showing that the sequence of work needs to be done. That's quite tedious. And then the down where you can see then growth in terms of year on year, the submissions have been keep increasing. Why? What's the case for change? The first case for change is like it's a slow progress. As you can see, the process flow, there's a lot of hops into it, like, and there's a lot of place where they need to work and manually need to review and move on to the next one. So it's a tedious work. And the second one is on the sector benchmarking. So we as a university, we just went and do a sector scanning with other universities and see where they land in terms of leveraging AI. And we sent some survey questions, and we identified we as a university is falling behind other universities such as Monash, Sydney, and University of Sydney and Queensland. So we definitely wants to put our energy and investment into the AI. And we also looked at the McGrath thinking around scale, scope, and speed. So we looked at our data repository, and we identified the significant gap in terms of data. And the next one is on the Gartner maturity. So we have around 7 key areas or 7 key domains where we are standing up to. So we did a current state analysis and the target state analysis. So as a overall, we land in between experimental to stabilization. So whereas we want to move towards a scalability and leading. We did a scenario analysis as a part of this exercise and understand, for example, what happens if AI is going to produce some errors. So in order to do as a mitigation exercise, we have human in the loop. And what happened with the missing data? So we are leveraging the data what we have, and we want to continually leverage moving on. And limited funding. What happens if the funding is going to be limited? So we will be leveraging the MVP, which is minimum viable product. Then we'll move on with that one. So the next framework that we considered was around the AI competitive advantage of grounding, bounding, and recasting. So in the grounding domains, we need to ensure that, okay, how we bring the different informations together in the data repository or in the data lake house. First is around understanding the principles, patterns, and everything, and bringing those information into a centralized data repository, and also developing some of the knowledge bases. That's all of some of the key areas which we need to spend our time and money. Bounding, so we as a university, we take the data security as highly highly, and we take it more seriously. So we just want to ensure that how we leverage the security controls which has been provided by enterprise, and also producing some sort of a role-based access control and human in the loops sort of things. Recasting, so we don't want to build something as a one-off, and we just want to be developing as a foundation, then we want to add more and more value to it. The next one is around the AI business strategy wheel. So based on the Gartner framework, so we have around 5 different domain areas. What's the business value looks like? Definitely it's going to create a lot of efficiency and consistency and transparency. And financially, it's going to create value in terms of reusable savings and reusable architecture and cost reduction. And dynamics, so we want to be like a phased adoption rather than just one-off. And in the right hand side where you also can see the AI opportunity radar. So there's a lot of areas where we can develop and incorporate the AI, but however, this first foundational or phase one, which is mostly highlight, and the one which has been highlighted in the golden box, which is like we are pursuing towards the integrated AI with EA governance. And what are we going to do? So we have looked into the 5 key areas, which is the playing area or playing to win, which is like where do we want to play? What's the winning aspiration? So one is we want to reduce the time, we want to reduce the speed, we want to enhance the speed, and we also want to see how we can save money. And the next one is like where to play. So we want to start off with the low hanging fruit, which is like a low risk submissions, and then we'll move on to the medium risk. So that like it goes as a phased approach. How to win? So we want to build the trust, and we want to enhance the speed. Capabilities, we want to develop role-based audit logs and curating the data. Those are the capabilities we want to build. And manage system. So what are we spending energy into in terms of system? So we are planning to leverage the small language model and works based on the domain, and we want to leverage the ChatGPT, Gen AI, and Copilot, and also MCP, which is a modern contextual protocol. So we want not just as a content producer, whereas we want to integrate with the APIs and everything, and works as an agentic AI, so that we can leverage not just as an content, but whereas we want to leverage it as an actions. So we looked into the Australian AI ethics principles and the 8 principles which we looked into, and we highlighted, for example, human centered, like AI just acts as an assistant, for example, if it is a reliability and safety. So we just want to use this as a model, and we just want to be more and more transparent, and accountability is still responsibility stays within the AIB and governance group. And what's next? So we ask the board to look into the 3 key areas which we want to pursue. The one is number one is like institutional AI governance, and the number 2 is like we want to take the data seriously, which means the ethical use of data, and the third one is like it's not remediating the compliance, which we want to move towards more on the competitive edge, and how we are leader in the market, and also how we can leverage the AI for our productivity, and also moving to the next stage of competitive edge. And we also have other information in the appendix highlighting the context information, SWOT analysis, and some of the works which you have done to get those maturity assessment and data value chain, and everything has been highlighted here. And really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for your time.